Welcome to the Katie Wellness Show, where you get the tools, knowledge, and inspiration you need to transform your health and wellness, body, mind, and spirit. You'll learn holistic and practical wellness strategies that empower you to reclaim your health and fully step into your power. You belong here as you learn to tap into your intuition to support your body every step of the way. Let go of what's no longer serving you and teach these tools and strategies to your family to raise emotionally and physically resilient children. Welcome back to the Katie Wellness Show. This is your host, Lindsey Katie, and today I am continuing the discussion about narcissistic behaviors, how we protect ourselves, how we protect our energy from people who are manipulative, will bully. If you missed last week's episode, we talked more in depth about narcissistic behaviors, and it is more than just being a bully. It is more than just being manipulative. There kind of is a spectrum, and narcissistic behavior is kind of on the extreme end of psychological abuse, making people feel like they're crazy and that they're only useful in a relationship if they can make the narcissistic partner look better, their self-image look better. And we are, this is a interview I did with Shelly, who is a high conflict divorce coach and a life coach as well. And after I released last week's episode, I reached out to Shelly, and she is not currently taking any clients on, but in her LinkedIn account, in the link in the show notes, she does have some articles posted there, and it is really interesting to read up on the legislative laws surrounding this type of abuse. So if you are needing more resources, you can look there in the show notes below. But this week's episode really dives into how we can recognize narcissistic behaviors, how we can teach our kids to recognize it, and how we can protect ourselves and our energy if we have attracted a partner who is a narcissist, or if we have a parent who has these narcissistic behaviors, who belittle you and make you really feel like your energy is being sucked out of you, your life force, right? So this week's episode is so invaluable, and I really wanted to share because there's some great tools to use with kids, especially as kids are growing older, as they're going to high school. How do we help our teens recognize friends or potential partners or boyfriend, girlfriend who may be manipulative in this way? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's jump in.
I did want to hit on the healthy boundaries, because this one is huge, because people think they think they're placing boundaries, and they're not, because they'll tell them like, okay, I'm not going to deal with this anymore, but then they'll never follow through. And a healthy boundary, a lot of people are making ultimatums or threats because they're wanting the person to change their behavior. And a healthy boundary is not that. A healthy boundary is, I'm going to come from a place of calm energy and love. Maybe not for that person, I don't know, but love for yourself at least. And you're just going to simply tell them what you're going to do. You have a boundary that you're not going to be hurt or disrespected or abused in any manner. And if that happens, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to leave, or if it's with a spouse, I'm going to go stay in a hotel room. Right? I mean, whatever it is, but it's coming from, the biggest difference is it's coming from a place of love and calm energy. And so it's not seen as a threat, and you got to follow through.
Yeah. Well, and it takes both, I think, to stay in a relationship, right? The narcissistic partner and the healthy one who just doesn't know how to set boundaries, or who has never been taught, or who doesn't have their own self-confidence, or they've been beat down so much that they don't feel like they have a voice, or that they can speak their voice. Sometimes not having a voice started in childhood, which is why they maybe attracted a partner like this in the first place. It's very, very complex.
It is very complex.
Yes. So it's not to say that the healthy person is bad or wrong, or even the opposite end, like so righteous because this person is so unright, or not
Oh, right.
necessarily right, but just
So
um
good versus they're so bad. Right.
right. It does take both. And once you get to that point of like, I love myself so much, I have to protect myself and I'm worth setting these boundaries for. I think that's what I hear you saying, is that this is how we protect ourselves. I have to come from a place of love and even just enough self confidence. And sometimes that takes working with a therapist or working with an
Yes.
emotional processor or emotional facilitator to retrain the brain to say, I am worthy of love. I am worthy. I'm a worthy human being and I deserve to be loved. I deserve to not be tortured in this way and to be abused in this way. And, you know, taking back their power in that I can have a stand against for myself and I can speak up for myself and I can protect myself in these ways.
And that is huge. And I'm glad you brought that up because, and that's why I mentioned getting a good therapist first, because I've had clients where I'm like, we got to get you right with yourself. We can't even do any other work because victims they are so fragile. They have no self-esteem. They don't think they have any worth. They're so beaten down. So we do need to build that up and retrain their brain into a better place so that they can then go out and set those healthy boundaries and not end up in the same relationship, because that happens so often.
Yes. Yeah. So to help them build that confidence of like, I can set these boundaries and I can follow through.
Yes.
And yeah,
They have that strength, that inner strength to follow through. Yeah.
yeah. So the questions that I sent to you in advance, are there any of those that you're really feeling called to answer or to touch on?
Oh boy, they're amazing questions. I just want to touch on quickly that, when protecting your kids, um, that's going to be a good one to work with, and anybody can do it. But um, it really comes down to, it's pretty simple. It's education. It's teaching and training your kids to recognize toxic behavior. And there's a couple of games you can play, and you can modify this depending on the age of your kids. What I have here is kind of for younger kids, but you just inoculate them with that behavior. So, meaning just tell them simple stories that illustrate age appropriate toxic behavior that they can understand, and then tell them the same story with replacing the toxic behavior with kind behaviors, and then ask them questions. You know, what's happening here? What do you notice? How would you feel? Kind of go through that. And as you do this consistently with kids, they'll begin to recognize, oh, they'll recognize the toxic behavior, and they'll recognize what kind behavior looks like. And I think that's huge. I'm sure there's a ton other ways to do it, but that one's a big one. And then there's another game called Know Your Truth. This is specific for gaslighting because especially like elementary kids, they don't grasp manipulation. They do not understand. They don't even understand sarcasm really. And so gaslighting's really bad for them. So playing Know Your Truth just is a simple game that they can ask, a parent can do with them. And it just starts with very simple questions you ask them where there's no argument about what the truth is. Like, what color is the sun? And the kid will answer, well, it's yellow. And then the parent just says, great, you know your truth. And you ask these little simple questions, and then you move into the more difficult questions that's actually about gaslighting. So you and I mean, I have examples, but you can use whatever that if the child is coming home from a parent time with another parent and is saying, oh my word, this happened, you can use that opportunity to then say, well, what's your truth? This was what happened. What do you know to be true? And let them verbalize what their truth is. This will help build resiliency and strength in them, because recognizing truth and error and kind behavior and toxic behavior is going to be, it can be a tool belt for them that they will carry through the rest of their life, especially as they head into the teenage years and get into dating. Dating's getting kind of ugly. It's getting scary. They need to know about these behaviors. One caveat and like warning I would give with that last example, if you have a child that's coming home complaining about maybe the narcissistic parent, you as the healthy parent cannot ever badmouth that other parent to that child. You, for one, it's just detrimental to the child. Even though their parent is who they are, they still love them, and you cannot do anything to diminish that. You can help them see their own truth. But if you're in a custody situation, it'll all be used against you in court. So everything, you've got to be neutral and no emotion. And anyway, that's kind of,
So maybe still validating them and asking, oh, how did you feel in that situation?
yes,
Or what was true, instead of putting on your projections of what you think they
yes,
should be feeling, right? So just
because
making sure.
you got to be grounded yourself, because it's going to make you so mad.
Yeah.
When your child comes home and says, well, they did this and this, and anyway, and even the neglect, you'll see the neglect, and it's really hard. So you really have to be on your game and be a very mindful parent for your children. You've got to do some preparation before they come home from a parent time or something. So that you're in a clean space and can allow them to just express in behavior and voice what they've been through and what's happened, and ask those questions and let them,
and to be
with,
that safe space for them to unload that emotional garbage, so they're not holding on to it and holding it in, and that's causing them health problems in the future, and
yep, a lot of
resentment
baggage.
start grow and build. And
And
yeah,
and that too, when you provide a healthy environment for the child that's consistent, and they know that they can trust you with their emotions, and they can be their authentic self with you, um, that right there will help them see how detrimental the other house is, right? So that right there's a training mode that, oh, I like this healthiness better than the toxic environment over here.
yeah.
So that's a big one.
Hey, well, thank you, Shelley. So if any of my followers are wanting to work with you, are finding themselves in this situation where they're dealing with a narcissist or someone with narcissistic behaviors, how do they work with you?
Okay,
They,
so, oh, go ahead.
how do they find you?
How do they find me? Okay, so I am on Facebook and Instagram, and you can just DM me on there, Shelley Saby, or Shelley J Coaching. I think you can find me with that. They can email me at shelleyjcoaching@gmail.com. Or I'm really excited. My website is about to go live, so I'm really happy and excited about this. I'm crossing my fingers that it will be done this weekend and we'll go live. So it's shelleyjcoaching.com, and on there I've got resources that is amazing. So sorry, I don't mean to brag, but
No,
I worked
please
really
tell
hard
us
on this.
all the things.
I've got so many resources. So I've got national resources and Utah local resources for victims of domestic violence. I have pages for recommended attorneys, mediators, therapists, and even real estate agents, because selling the marital home can be a nightmare in and of itself. I've got a blog that educates on narcissistic abuse and all things high conflict divorce. I've got self-care ideas, and then coming soon will be the advocacy section, for all the advocacy work that we're doing. There's a big collaborative effort right now. We've got an amazing bill in the Utah State Legislature we're so excited about. It's HB 272, Ohm's Law. It's going to help do a little bit of family court reform in protecting children from abusive parents. So we are excited about that. So contact your state legislature, tell them to vote for it.
Fantastic. So let me ask you, do you help people outside of Utah? Do you do like Zoom counseling or over the phone counseling to help people, or are you mostly just in Utah?
I will do anyone, anywhere. So all of mine is Zoom because I'm back and forth. I have done phone calls too, but I usually work with Zoom. So yeah, I can help anybody. I just understand Utah law, and that's where I had my divorce went through there, so I understand a lot of what's going on, and I'm a part of a lot of Utah pages with this topic, and so that's where those resources come from. But
Okay. Okay. And I'm sure even those resources can help to find the resources that you need
yeah,
within your state. And I'm sure they're still helpful, just maybe not law specific to other states. But
right, right.
hey, great. Thank you for all these wonderful resources. Thank you for your time and your beautiful face. It was so good to see you.
So kind, Lindsay. It's so good to see you. I wish I could reach through and give you a hug.
I know, right?
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Well, I will
you.
let you go for today, but thank you so much for your time, and we will talk to you later.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
I'm curious if any of these exercises stood out to you. Setting boundaries in this way, coming from a place of calm energy, the exercise with children, know your truth, and also the third exercise that Shelley talked about, sharing examples of a behavior that is maybe less desirable or unacceptable versus a story about a behavior that would be ideal. Do any of those stand out to you? Hopefully, one of those, at least one, will work in your home to help start a discussion with you and your kids, with you and your teens, with you and your tweens, to start to look for these types of behaviors and avoid them if possible. I really like what Dr. Becky says about setting boundaries. She says that a boundary is stating what I will do and requires the other person to do nothing. And I love Dr. Becky is a social media influencer. She is a parenting coach. I love her work. So there's another resource to use when setting boundaries. But specifically in this example, I love Shelley's example of coming from a place of calm energy. And it can be very, very difficult to find that place of calm, especially when life feels like it's falling apart and nothing is going right. And this person who should love you is not treating you appropriately. It's good to know that there are resources out there, and it's good to be able to find that place of calm. And if you are having difficulty in last week's episode, the number one thing that Shelley recommended, that if you are dealing with someone who has narcissistic behaviors, it is important to work with a therapist, whether that's in traditional therapy, whether that's through emotion code or emotional processing through integrative processing technique is the specific modality that I use to help people um, reset their nervous system and also change that wiring in their brain, instead of feeling threatened by this other person. You can find that calm within the storm, right? So there are lots of modalities out there, but that was Shelley's number one recommendation. And also in my life, I don't deal with a narcissistic partner or narcissistic parents specifically, but as far as resetting my nervous system, processing has been the best tool to help me do that, to rewire those beliefs that I had about myself, that I had to show up perfectly and that I couldn't make mistakes and that I had to be a certain way and that I had to look a certain way, that I had resetting all those beliefs has helped me so much to be in that place of calm. Even if there's chaos, even if I feel completely out of control, there are things that I can control. So that's just kind of a plug for processing, but find find a professional that you can work with if this is something that you're dealing with, either to rewire your brain or to give you tools to use in the moment. Tapping is always a good one. Breath work is always a good one. But those emotions are coming up because your body is alerting you that something's not right, that a boundary has been crossed. So tune into those. Learn to listen to your intuition. And also, as you do some of these games, this Know Your Truth, you're teaching your kids to tap into their intuition as well. I hope today's episode was helpful for you. I would love to hear from you. So if you go to the show notes below, you can send me an email or find me on Instagram and send me a DM. Or you can check out my Instagram account and we will have more discussions on there about setting boundaries, about having healthy boundaries, about protecting our heart and our energy from narcissistic behaviors, narcissistic abuse, anything in that realm. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to talking to you next week.